I've showcased like that starter all the way to mid game team that I've constructed in a few videos now, or at least explained it somewhat. But today we're going to talk about my gear sets, specifically why I chose the gear that I chose, and just gear in general. We're just going to go a little bit over the gear. So, howdy, everybody. Here looking at my dude Yohan and his gear. These are the stats that we got. You'll notice that we got some pretty good crit rate, but our crit damage is like meh. We looking alright on attack somewhat. We do got some debuff rate, which isn't a bad thing for him to have, just because you do kind of want him to be able to land his debuffs. But you'll see the only actual set bonus we got is the debuff rate bonus. So that's not on purpose. It's just early on the sets really don't matter as much. The stats is the most important thing. And since your comp is being built around Red Vanessa, you definitely want to make sure she is faster than the final boss but slower than the rest of your team. So the rest of your team has to be faster too. So we'll go down here and we see we got crit rate here on his necklace, but his ring is also crit rate. Okay, so I guess it's because I got decent speed subs there. Yeah, we got some speed subs. Yeah, really strong speed sub here. So we was able to do that, but I don't think I was able to get enough crit rate and also be able to get a crit damage piece for him to be able to land a crit, dish out good damage, and still be faster than the red Vanessa all at the same time. Because we're trying to hit certain stats. This is a defense where we got defense here, flat attack there, attack percent here, and flat attack here. He is not quite at the threshold where he needs attack percent, but this is probably one of the better ones that I had lying around. Yeah, probably the only one that had any kind of attack on there, and it's an attack percent, and it got crit damage on it. So yeah, chances are this will probably roll terribly and don't give me anything that I'm looking for. So we're better off just keeping this piece of gear that we have on. Like, preferably, I would like to have it all attack so he can just dish out damage. But I'm sure I have this probably just to have a little bit of defense so he can take a hit. And we don't really have anything that gives us attack here. But, having a little bit of extra defense, because he has a decent base defense. He definitely got a decent base defense. It's not quite at the threshold to want an percent either, but definitely it's a decent base. Alright, Helga. I don't know what it is about Helga, but I can never get attack gear for her. But she's actually a great hero to be built as a bruiser. Now, I did kind of go for the sets here because I was able to achieve some of the stats. Some of the stats I had to stress some because she's still not faster than my red Vanessa, so a lot of times I have to revive her or keep her healed up. She dies, especially in fights where the bosses are attribute advantage. Sometimes she get focused more than the blue Vanessa does, so she ends up dying in those fights, or she just takes a hit. So actually having her as a bruiser is pretty good. You'll see we have a significant amount of extra HP. Her attack is okay, the defense is okay as well. Her crit rates, it's alright. Crit damage is really not much of anything, but she does have the piercing set to give her 12% extra crit rate. Since I don't have a lot of crit rate, and the reasoning behind that is because I have the debuff rate here, which is actually pretty good. She got really good debuff rate, so she can land her debuffs. It's not important that she lands. I think it's what the little dot damage that you get sap is not that important that you land them, but in order for me to get the pierce set so all of her attacks can ignore defense with a 20% chance, which she already has one of her skills built in with ignore defense, so it just adds on to it. pretty much rode and was able to be close enough to get the set. The only problem is I'm not able to get the speed I need. Like, it's really hard for me to hit the speeds, but you'll see we're mostly attack here, then defense there, and this is HP here. Preferably I would have my weapon, chest, glove, and boots all attack, and have crit rate, crit damage on the rings, but in order for me to hit those stats, I do lose this set. Having the pierce set is really not important. It's just I'm able to hit some stats, some of the other stats that I like and that I want on her in particular, and it works for me. So that's the biggest thing. It works for me. All right, our red Vanessa. Now we do have a life set, which I think I was trying to hit the life just so I can get the extra HP so she can be tanky. And then the resolve set for the resistance isn't bad because resistance is actually pretty good. But I wasn't trying to get the set for this, just that's what had the stats that I needed. And you'll notice that she has some of the weaker gear that I have just because I want her to be the slowest, and it's not as leveled up because I don't want to roll into speed. I do have some speed, so you see I have the speed here just so she can be fast enough to beat the boss. I think she's at the very minimum, maybe 1 or 2 speed slower, and she can still be faster than the boss, but I think 110 speed is as low as you can go. She's at 113, so then we have an HP here. So I'm actually afraid to level anything up. This one I could, but it's only a 3-star, so no reason to touch that. And then this is 8, what's that? HP here. Flat defense. She's actually above the threshold of 1% for HP, so it would be better for percentage. Granted, I hit that. Same here, but we don't have any speed subs. We're trying to avoid speed like the plague, and then we got defense. She heals based off of her defense, and definitely want to hit defense stats on her just so she can get a stronger heal, but you don't want her not to have HP. HP is still really important to have. Astrid, your other DPS, your single target DPS, she can do a lot of damage if allowed to. Now you see here we have double pierce here. Just because I'm having a hard time hitting the crit rate, so I went for the stats on this just because her crit rate is real low. Having the extra percent just because we don't have crit rate and subs kind of helps out here. We start at the bottom as usual. We got a crit rate here. This is a pretty weak one. If we can get a better one, maybe this one. Maybe we'd do this one. Got crit damage on that. Supply attack. I probably end up leveling up this one later on just because it's better. I've been grinding for gear anyway, so it's about time for me to look through some of my gear and make some changes. And then I went for speed. Of course, I would prefer to have crit rate here or a crit damage just for the extra damage, but I went for the speed to make sure she is faster just because we're lacking in speed subs as well. Needed her as fast as possible. See, we have no speed sub here, but that's HP percent. Got attack here with 1 speed sub, but you can see we have no crit rate subs either. A speed here, so we're lacking in some of the stats that we need, but we're doing the best we can. She doesn't want percent yet for her attack, and if you don't know, the thresholds is for HP 5,000, for attack 800, and for defense 700 is when you want to start shooting for percentages over flat stats. I did put that in previous videos, but I just mention it now again for you guys that's new to the channel. Make sure you check out my old content because you're probably missing out on some important information there. Take some time and just go through. For our water Vanessa, now she heals based off of attack and defense, but once again you don't want her to be lacking on the HP side. The life set just happens to be there because probably the stats or what is, and it just gives me what I need. I was able to get a defense on this one. And what's this? We got attack. We try to get some attack. We will prefer it to be flat, but percent was all we can really hit, and it's one of the better ones, so we went with that. We got flat defense here. Some of this stuff can still be leveled up. Like some of it can be leveled up, exchanged out or something like that as well. We got this because of the HP, and it was a 5-star, something that we don't normally have. And then we got speed here because and speed there because we actually want her to be fast. Generally, I would have her like even on my main, she's like normally the fastest on my team unless it's one of my turn bar boosters like Chrome and Arslan, then they'll be faster, but generally she's the fastest on the team. She'll move before everybody else because I run double speed and then try to get as much stats as and everything else. You can see I prefer to have the tank stats more so than the attack stat. If I can get attack and subs, that would be great, and I just focus in on getting HP and defense, or if I could get subs in other places, I would exchange it out. Essentially, I would want to get a cleric set for extra healing. That would take some time. It's hard to get gear. It's really expensive to invest in, and even if you're spending money, it's pretty expensive to invest in. So stats are more important. Sets aren't as much. So if you can hit a set on something you need, then that's great. If not, then meh. And that's pretty much the main team in their stats. Like if I were to have some preferred sets and everything, I would go for the sets that complements their class. Like I would go for whatever complements their class and try to get that set on them. I actually want to try elite set on something though. You can only get these in dungeons, from what I've seen. The elite set is a couple of the sets that you can only get in the Hall of Trials, but elite set is one I want to try out, but they never drop decently. They always drop with trash main stats and trash sub stats. So maybe one day we'll get something good there. Then yeah, like cleric sets for the healers just so they can heal. Then what's that? The sniper. The snipers give that extra burst gauge. That's what's so good. I wish this was an attack percent rather than defense, and then I would consider it, even though it doesn't have crit rate or crit damage on it. Like, and you only need 2 of these, so essentially you can have 2 sets of the surge. Like I want to see like an insane burst comp where we just cycling bursts like crazy, and I probably run like 2 or 3 snipers. I want to do something like that. It's like I really want to try some things out, but it's gonna take a lot of time and resources to do it. By the time I'm able to do stuff like that, global will be out and we'll probably end up investing in, but we'll see. Before I end it off, I do want to like just go over some of the sets and just kind of talk about them. The shock set, I can see this being great for like one of your AoE dealers. I mean, grants a 25% chance to stun, so anybody that does AoE, this would be great. Probably doing for farming stages or just for the Hall of Trial, stuff like that. Maybe even PvP. Get higher up in the ranks, a shock set will be good. You need 4 of them to do anything with it, but other than that, it's not something that you will be looking towards. You see, I have a peer set on one of my heroes. Peer set can help you hit that crit rate when you can't get it. Granted, you still get the stats you need on the peer set itself, just to get that extra crit rate. And then we got the frenzy set, which is a 4 set for crit damage, so you can pair that up with the peer set to get you crit rate and crit damage just to get extra damage. I think this will be really strong like late game when you're building for just high damage fast clears for farming. This will probably be like an insane set to use. Early on, mid game, it's just not important because it's too much you would have to get. Like, to hit a 4 set is really hard. If you're fortunate to get it and it's decent, then that's great. But other than that, you don't want to bother. Your attack power set, this is a 2 set, so this can be used for many things. Your clerics can use this as well, which can help them with their heals if they heal off of attack, like your green Charlotte and your blue Vanessa. Your efficiency set for the debuff rate, because anything that you want to actually land their debuffs, you definitely want to have some debuff rate on them, so having at least 1 set of this is great. The resolve for that resistance, mostly I see clerics using this. Just you don't want them to be debuff, especially like anything that can stun. If the hero that's supposed to keep your team alive is stunned, they're not doing their job. So having some kind of resistance can be good later on down the line. Then you got the life set and the other set, the defense set, that just gives you that extra layer of protection. which can be great. Early on, these can be really strong sets to use, but as you get into the game and get further, I don't think their usage is going to be as good, because you'll start getting better gear, better stats, and won't necessarily need them unless it's just still the best gear you have or just something you had laying around that you can use. But once again, you're not going for sets, you're looking for stats. So put whatever give you the best stats that you need, and if you can make a set, make it. And if you just happen to make a set on mistake just because it gives you the stats, then by all means use it, even if it's not something that needs that in particular set. Just get what you need, and that's all you have to do for most of your play through this game until you're able to build things later. But that's pretty much it, though. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you did, make sure you smash that like button. If you didn't, there is a button for you guys as well. Link to the Discord where we talk about this game and possibly other games we play will be in the description box below, as well as the pinned comment below. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn those post notifications on so you can view the content when it goes live first, people. And this is your host, Gamer Dude 2088, and I will see you next time. And I'm out. Deuces. Alright, so let's go back and explain some more.